all you Slashaholics. Welcome to Slash Sisters. I am Slash Sister Jen.
I am Slash Sister Hallie, and we want to welcome you back to your favorite channel for horror movie reviews by true horror movie fans.
That's us. And you.
Every Friday.
Every Friday. And hey, you know, if this is your first time here, or if you just simply have not done this yet,
Why?
click on over to that little subscribe button and make sure you slash it, because it really does help us a lot. It makes it so that you don't miss any of our videos, and it helps the algorithm, helps us get out there to everybody else too.
I also want to take this time to thank some of our newer fans for going back and watching some of our older videos. Thank you.
We see you commenting. We see you watching.
Yes, we see you. We see you.
We love you.
Your comments and stuff have been recognized.
Yes, for sure.
Today we are taking a step into the world of rapidly approaching franchise territory. Are they doing a third one?
They are. It is already in production, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
With a second film that's already been released that did amazingly at the box office.
Which actually, this did really great at the box office too, to be honest.
It was a sleeper the first week, but
it was like one of the first ones of the pandemic to really.
Yeah. So. And what I don't know if you put that in there about like the short this is based
on. I talked about it a little bit. Yeah.
But they relied a lot of word of mouth. I know that for the promotion
there was some really cool viral marketing for this film.
Right. They had stars of the film sitting behind home plate during televised baseball games.
And not even just stars of the film. They hired other actors that were not in the film, too.
But they had them sitting behind home plate during televised baseball games wearing a lime green shirt that simply said "Smile" on it, standing up and smiling creepily at the camera.
The biggest smile. I don't have a big enough smile for that. I just don't. My mouth's too small.
We tried doing it in the last video, and our producer, camera woman, just laughed her ass off at us. I hope y'all could have heard that.
She's back there giggling again.
Yeah, she is.
She's just shaking though. She hasn't made a noise yet.
One of these days we are gonna have a camera on her.
I know.
Yes,
she's not even gonna know it. We're gonna do it secretly. We'll plan it.
I spy with my little eye a laughing Amy.
Yep. But that's right, y'all. We are diving into the absolutely creepy world of Parker Finn with his feature directorial debut. 2022's
writing directorial debut.
Yeah.
Because he wrote this as well. A movie based off of Finn's short film, Laura Hasn't Slept, that expanded the story, builds on a lifelong trauma and the effects that it has on mental health. If you have not seen the short, it's about 11 to 12 minutes, and it stars... What the hell is her name?
I think her name's... Oh, shoot. Yep, I knew it. I literally just watched the short earlier, and I watched the making of earlier today. I watched it just earlier today.
Right. But she played
Stacy, something.
I don't know. Something like that. She played Laura in Laura Hasn't Slept and reprised the same character, almost in the same circumstances in this film.
Very similar. Like her character is very much the same, but expanded upon.
Yeah.
And given a little bit more of a reason for why she's having
the terrible visions that she's having. Yeah.
So yeah, it was based off of the short film, which Parker Finn put out in 2020.
Yeah. So he dropped it in South by Southwest in 2020, which nobody was allowed to attend.
It didn't happen. Yeah.
No, it happened.
The film judging happened.
The film judging happened. The festival itself did not happen because of the pandemic.
Yep.
But it actually won. And he was basically having production companies kicking down his door, wanting to expand upon the story to create a full-length feature film.
Yeah.
And this is the result of Paramount approaching him to do it.
Yep. So, come along with us as we meet Laura, and we find out just what it is that is keeping her from sleeping.
We start our story off with Dr. Rose Cotter, played by Sosie Bacon, the daughter of acclaimed film star and actress Kyra Sedgwick
and Kevin Bacon. Yeah. Fun. They've produced a hell of an actress daughter.
They've produced a lot of talented kids in general.
Yes, in general.
But Dr. Rose Cotter is a therapist who works at an emergency psychiatric ward in Newark, New Jersey. Yes.
I know that what you're experiencing feels real, but it can't hurt you.
After helping a patient named Carl, who is suffering from delusions but is basically harmless, she is sent to see a new patient, a graduate student named Laura.
Who's actually studying to be a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Laura explains that a week before she witnessed her professor kill himself. Ever since, she has been seeing some kind of invisible entity.
It looks like people, but it's not a person.
Or not so invisible. Invisible to everyone else. The entity is something that only she can see. Sometimes it appears as someone she knows. Sometimes it's no one that she's ever seen before. But they are always smiling with this creepy, menacing
I believe
smile.
the line that was used in both the short and this is like, it looks like people, but it's not people.
Yeah, it looks like people, but
it's
it's
wearing
not people.
people's different faces,
Mm-hmm.
or something to that effect, right?
Yeah.
It's smiling at me, but not a friendly smile. It's the worst smile I've ever seen in my life.
Laura claims that this entity has told her she's going to die.
Dr. Cotter believes that
I'm a PhD candidate. I'm not some lunatic. I've never felt scared like I do when I see it.
Miss Laura's having a good old mentee bee, a good old mental breakdown. She explains to Laura that even though it may feel like she is going to die, she's not.
Sometimes it looks like my grandfather who died in front of me when I was 7.
But we all are. I mean, let's face it. From the moment we're born, we're starting to
yes.
we're dying.
For sure.
Suddenly, Laura begins screaming.
Oh my
God! She actually falls backwards,
Yeah, it's like
throws
throws
herself
backwards, yeah.
up into a corner, and is just screaming profoundly, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Cotter runs and grabs the phone, and then the screaming stops as Laura is choking. And yeah.
Laura suddenly calms down and stands and smiles. This giant, uncanny smile.
Which, by the way, the smiles in this are not altered digitally. Those are all authentic. In fact, virtually every shot of this is practical.
I don't know
as
how,
practical as it can be.
Yeah, there's a little bit of some digital
Close to
effects
the end.
towards the end, but not much. And it's
so,
blended well.
what happens next? They actually did have to
Yeah.
touch.
Sure,
They
yeah,
put the
they
appliance on her, and then she cut, and then they added the effects
extra
later.
effects.
Right.
But there
blood
really
splatter
was
and-
blood coming down from the appliance that they used for this.
Yeah.
But yes, so Rose watches helplessly, still waiting for help, waiting for someone to come and help her in the room, as Laura starts at her cheek, slices down, and cuts completely across her neck, fatally slitting her own throat.
Smiling the entire time.
Smiling the entire time.
She falls to the floor,
Woo!
dead, with the creepy smile still spread across her damn face.
Yeah, literally, dead, smiling. At home that night, Rose is clearly disturbed about what happened earlier in the day. Yeah.
Wouldn't you be?
I would be. Very, very upset.
Wouldn't you be if you saw somebody slit their own throat in front of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
So she even thinks at some point that she pours herself a glass of wine. She's standing in the kitchen and she thinks she sees Laura standing in her kitchen. Or at least...
Rose.
Yeah, I mean, it's Laura. It's clearly Laura. Which prompts her to drop her glass.
That evening, her and her fiance have dinner with her absolutely insufferable piece of shit, materialistic fucking see you next Tuesday sister and brother-in-law. And it's clear that what happened is affecting Rose.
Yeah,
I don't understand you. It's literally just sitting there.
We grew up in that house.
Rose, it's a total teardown. Why not just get the money for the land? Why become a doctor if you can't get disgustingly rich?
snaps on them, basically.
As rightfully so she should have.
Agreed.
Like, oh, you only become a doctor for the money. No.
No. She wants to help people. That's why
She's been putting 80 fucking hours a weekend.
The next day at work, Rose walks past Carl's room, who is sitting on the edge of his bed, smiling in the same way that Laura was, with that big, creepy smile. he begins screaming at her that she's going to die.
You're going to die! You're going to die!
Rose then immediately called
5150, somebody call the po-po. I'm going crazy.
Yeah, I threw that in there just for you. I'm pointing to Amy behind the camera. 5150 is actually a country song by singer Dierks Bentley.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would have never
But
known
that actually is the code that she grabs the phone with and says, 5150.
5150, yep.
I need someone to come and restrain a patient.
But,
yeah.
when they come to restrain him, they realize that Carl had been asleep the whole time. They do restrain him, too. They grab him and restrain
Forcefully.
him. Yeah.
Forcefully.
But Carl was asleep the whole time. She was hallucinating, though? Or the entity did it?
I think the entity.
Yeah. Concerned of Rose's mental well-being, her supervisor, Morgan, who's played by Cal Penn. I love Cal Penn.
Kumar!
Yeah.
The board is down my throat about paying out of pocket for another bed in the residency program.
It's fucking Kumar, y'all!
Yep. I mean, but also he played a doctor for a while on House. So, like, seeing him as a doctor again wasn't that much of a surprise to me, but yeah, it's Kumar.
I mean, it's Kumar. Which is really funny when you find out that he actually worked for Obama.
Yeah, that's why he stopped
acting
on House.
for 8 years.
Yeah. Anyways, so he orders Rose to take a week off of work.
Paid, mind you.
Yeah, which she should. She just experienced something really traumatic.
However, Rose's hallucinations continue, and that evening her alarm system goes off. Excuse me. In the process, she receives a strange phone call from what she thought was the security company.
Yeah.
Only to have the phone no longer be in her hand.
The back door of my house is open.
Are you alone in the house, ma'am?
Yes.
Are you sure?
And ringing across the room again.
Exactly.
Look behind you.
And the person on the first phone call is like, are you sure you didn't let something in? Are you sure, Rose? Like,
And that's when the phone disappears from her hand and it starts ringing across the room again.
Creepy. Her fiance, though, he pulls up to the house while the police are still there.
Played by Brandon T. Usher.
He is beginning to worry about her, realizing that she broke another wine glass that evening. I think
Did you break another wine glass?
But also they realize that their cat Mustache is missing.
Mustache is actually the only death in this that is not suicide.
Way to jump the gun and tell them that Mustache is dead. But yes, you are correct. Yeah.
Rose visits her former therapist, Madeline, who suggests that Rose's problems stem from her childhood in which she witnessed her abusive and mentally ill mother die from an overdose. We actually find out later in the film why she has not talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's disturbing.
I'd have a hard time talking about that too.
It actually harkened me back to Pet Sematary.
Mm-hmm.
With Zelda.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Rose asks for a prescription for an antipsychotic Risperdal, I think is what she asks
because
for.
she's, self-diagnosing herself, and then her therapist says,
let's not self-diagnose, and I don't
Right.
think we need to be medicating you. Let's wait a week.
She ain't gonna be alive in a week, bitch.
Nope. But yeah, she encourages Rose to try and work through it without the drugs.
Yeah. Now that she isn't working, she calls to apologize to her sister for the way she acted at dinner, and to let her know that she will be at her nephew's birthday party, who she said would not be there because she was working.
Because she'd be working, yeah.
But yeah, she's decided to now attend the birthday party.
Yeah, and her sister kind of says, he likes,
electric
toy trains. Yeah, so if you need an idea for a gift.
What is the first gift that he fucking opens? It's like a fucking Nerf blaster.
Right.
Come on now.
I have that one too.
I'm sure.
Rose does find a toy train and buys it as a birthday gift for her nephew Jackson.
At the party, he unwraps the present that she wrapped, only for him to discover the corpse of Mustache. It's been in that box the entire time.
Yeah, and Mustache has blood on it, so he was clearly killed. He didn't suffocate in that box. He was killed before he was put in that box.
I'd like to see anybody put a cat in a box and
Yeah,
wrap
no
it
shit.
anyway.
No
I mean,
shit.
unless you're Aunt Bethany from Christmas Vacation.
Yeah!
Box is meowing.
Let me see it. She wrapped up her damn cat.
Rose at this point has a public breakdown as she looks up and sees one of the guests at the party smiling at her with that creepy smile, causing her to fall backwards into a glass table and injure herself.
Yeah, she ends up with a
pretty
glass
badly.
embedded in both of her arms and has to get them wrapped up and everything.
Yeah.
I know we kind of glossed over this, but the first time she actually sees something after the incident with Laura and everything like that, she's standing in her office looking down onto the street, and there's a person. We don't see it. We don't zoom in on it. It's a person standing there smiling creepily.
Uh-huh. It's her mother. Is it? I always just assumed that it was Laura, but man, that makes more sense. Yeah.
This convinces Rose that she has fallen victim to a curse. Okay. She tries to explain this to her fiancé Trevor, but he thinks that she's gone crazy and kind of stages an intervention for her.
Yeah, I mean, really.
Do you hear yourself? I mean, Jesus Christ, you sound crazy.
I am not crazy!
Laura does learn, or Rose learns, that Laura's professor had been smiling at her right before he killed himself. So Rose ends up going to the professor's house to talk to his widow.
Yeah, posing as a reporter.
Yeah. Yeah.
They asked me to identify his body. His face.
Victoria shows Rose all the drawings left behind by her husband and tells her about his erratic behavior in the week leading up to his death.
She also learns that he had also witnessed someone else's suicide not long before he himself had died.
He watched someone die by suicide?
Rose goes to her ex-boyfriend Joel, played by Kyle Gallner. Welcome back to the channel, Kyle.
Hey, Kyle! We love you.
Police detective who we did briefly meet at the start of the film because he showed up after Laura had offed herself.
Right.
And
then he actually did show up back at her work just to, like, check on her and see how she was doing, and she was like, go away. Like, literally, go away.
Did you notice that the mug that she was pouring her coffee into had a huge-ass smiley face on it?
Oh, no, I guess I didn't
Her
even...
hand was covering it mostly,
That's
but
funny.
I caught, like, the eye and, like, the half of the smile.
Yeah, I love the nurse in that scene, because she's like, you know she's not single, right? And he's
But
like,
I am.
Yeah, but I am. I would say the same thing to Kyle Gallner.
But she convinces him how, I do not know.
I need a favor. I need you to not ask any questions about it.
Terrific. Yeah, let's hear that.
But to look into old police records to find out who the woman was that offed herself in front of the professor. And
yeah.
Yeah, it just, this effectively kicks over a domino chain. pretty much.
So they find several cases of people who witnessed someone else commit suicide while smiling at them before doing the same thing to themselves within a week. So that's just while she's there, and then Joel ends up doing some more research afterwards.
Yeah, he does some digging.
Yes.
Rose tries to patch things up with Trevor, but when she goes to their home, she realizes he's called her former therapist and staged that intervention that I told you about.
Yeah.
Without asking her first.
All you're trying to do is make it so you don't have to deal with it.
Yeah. Kind of not really.
And
it kind of crosses a line when you contact your partner's therapist and tell them that they need help.
Honestly, the therapist should have fucking known better.
Yes.
You do not show up to someone's house and bombard them like that.
Ooh. And she does try to apologize later.
But still,
it doesn't change
that
what
is
she already
behavior
did.
that should not fucking happen from a therapist's standpoint.
Yeah.
If I had a therapist show up in my house, I'd tell him to get the fuck out, or
Yeah.
I'd leave myself.
Yeah, I mean, she basically told her to get fucked.
Yeah.
Like, literally. Yeah, so she's really upset. And she leaves to go and see her sister Holly, who also dismisses Rose's belief in a curse.
You're completely traumatized, Jackson, okay?
We get one of the sickest scenes right here, too. So Rose goes back to her car and is sitting there, and she starts to freak out.
Yeah.
Holly.
And then she wakes up because it was a fucking hallucination, people.
Yep. I got issues with that, actually. So, but like right before this, though, Holly accuses her of sounding just like her mother. Yeah. Which I think is what really upsets Rose, and Rose goes to the car.
Oh no, 100%.
And that like
because
comparing
there
her
was
to
that
their mentally ill mom.
There was also that banner because Holly's the older sister about like.
And she left her.
Yeah, and she left her younger sister there to deal with their mentally ill mother.
Yeah. So this scene right afterwards, though, where Holly comes out to the car and this.
It was
in
shown
the
in the
trailers, and it made me so mad because
that would have
is
been a shocking
really
scene.
Yes,
to witness.
And it is something that like it is one of the big reasons why I try to avoid trailers as much as possible anymore, because I feel like, especially the last 5-6 years too, like trailers are giving away way too much. Way too much.
If you don't have somebody that's editing the trailers properly, it does
Right.
give away a lot. Because while that was like the only jump scare that was in the trailer, there's plenty of other jump scares in this, and it does not reveal the entity in any shape or form. Because you are not prepared for this entity when it reveals itself.
I wasn't.
I was, because I watched the making of first.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
First?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I wanted to know what I was getting into.
Alright.
Unlike you, I like fucking knowing what I'm getting into.
Not me. I like to go in blind and get surprised like crazy.
Nope. Joel calls Rose to tell her that he's tracked down at least 20 suicides, but has actually found an exception to the suicides, a murderer named Robert Talley. Actually, I think his exact words are, I found 20 different cases with 19 victims, and she's like, 19? What about that one?
20th? Yeah.
Right.
So, Rose and Joel then drive seemingly overnight, like quite a distance, to visit him in prison, where he claims that the entity, this is basically after he tells the cop to get lost.
Yeah, because he refused
and he
to
only
talk
wants
to her.
to talk to her.
Right.
He claims that the entity feeds on trauma, and that the only way to escape it is to brutally kill someone in front of someone else so that they witness that trauma and it passes the curse onto them. That's the only way to get the curse off of yourself, is to murder someone else instead of murdering yourself.
A man there escaped that chain by killing his neighbor and passing it to his neighbor's wife. Because this thing needs trauma to spread. That's what gives it power. Trauma.
Rose angrily rejects the idea. I believe she actually says, I can't kill somebody, and then he freaks the fuck out. Yep.
I can't kill someone!
Yells at her to
Get away from me! Get away from me!
Yeah.
Right?
Why did you bring it to me? Why did you bring it to me? You brought it back to me.
Right,
yeah.
right.
And rightfully so, I would be pretty upset as well, although, I don't know. For me personally, I don't know if I would want to spend the rest of my life in prison and just be alive in prison, or if I would just want to let the damn thing take me.
3 hots and a cot ain't so bad, actually. In the grand scheme of things, if you're alive.
Yeah. Yeah, but what is life if you're never going to get out of there? There's no hope of ever getting out. Because you murdered someone and confessed to it. Anyways, later, Madeline visits Rose for a therapy session.
Again, surprising her at her fucking
Showing
house.
up at her fucking house. Only to reveal herself as the entity in disguise.
But
with
not
that fucking creepy
before.
smile.
But not before.
I'm very concerned about how we left things yesterday.
The phone rings and it's
And it's
Madeline.
the real Madeline, and then she realizes that she's in the presence of the entity, which is woo.
Almost time, Rose.
But yeah, so she is basically chased, attacked by Madeline, and
The fucking
she
drool
screams,
coming
oh,
out
I know,
of that.
dripping. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
That actress.
Did you just drill on yourself? I might have.
Anyways. So yeah, she attacks and Rose runs screaming from the house.
Rose drives to the hospital, but not before grabbing a kitchen knife from the knife block off the countertop. and has intentions of murdering Carl in front of Morgan. But it's revealed that this is a hallucination.
And she's still sitting in her car.
Do you know why? Why this happened the way it did? Why the ending happens the way that it does?
Explain it to me, huh?
Because the entity's in your head. It knows what you're thinking. So if you're planning on trying to do something that's going to break the cycle, it will show you what you want.
Yep.
To make you think.
Yeah. Which is
you are breaking the cycle.
Why what it happens.
Exactly how it happens at the end.
Yep. So Rose wakes up in her car, or comes out of her hallucination at least, in her car to find Morgan, Dr. Morgan, standing outside her car. And he notices the knife in the front seat, but she speeds away really quickly. But
she almost runs his ass over.
Yeah, like, obviously, that prompts him to call the police, because she's clearly a danger to herself or to someone else. Because she is carrying around a butcher knife.
Right. Kitchen
knife, yes. Definitely.
Chef's knife,
for sure. A big one.
Rose drives to her abandoned family home, realizing that the entity's curse ends with her if she dies alone. However, Joel, her ex-boyfriend, the cop, calls her.
Well, because he sees the APB go out on her.
Exactly. And this is how he finds her, because he's able to use her phone because she does not turn the fucking off.
I know. So she sees Joel calling her, and literally the first thing that went through my head was throw your phone out the window.
Throw your phone out the window, turn it off, whatever, because they're going to use it as a GPS to find you.
This went through my head. Why didn't it go through her head?
She pulls into the cabin, right? She pulls into the cabin. We see the phone in her center console. She gets out, goes inside. Joel's calling the phone again. Yep. Hello, Jack, people. Hello, Jack.
Yep. So the entity then appears as Rose's mother. A quite large version of her mother.
Or after.
After she sees a vision. Yeah.
After
she sees this vision of, well, not really a vision. It's a memory of what happened when her mom did actually die. And her mom begged her to help her.
And her mom apparently accidentally took too many drugs.
Accidentally.
I was 10 years old!
That's what she says, right?
Yeah.
And she's begging her to call the authorities.
Call an ambulance.
She's like, her mom says, "Mommy messed up. Please help. Please help." And she walks out, leaving her mother to die.
She closes the door. Now, I can't imagine the amount of trauma that 10-year-old child had already been through at that point.
No.
Clearly, her sister left because she couldn't handle it, but she left her there by herself with her severely mentally ill mother, who clearly had a drug problem as well.
I'm drawn back to Lights Out with this. There's starking parallels right there.
I know. There's actually, I saw a lot of parallels in this, actually. Thought about it a lot.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out our Lights Out video, go check that one out, because it's really good.
Yes. So this is something that is a trauma that Rose has carried with her entire life.
Because she's in her 20s at minimum right here. I mean, she has to be. She's a doctor.
She's got to be close to 30.
Exactly.
At least. She's a psychologist.
I was saying 25 at the youngest.
At the very youngest. And
because
it's 7
years.
Early.
It's 7 years to get your doctorate.
Yeah.
So 7 years, 25.
And that's if she worked really hard and got everything done on time. You know?
Right. So I'm saying 25 at the youngest, 30 at probably the oldest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So still 15 to 20 years of fucking repressed trauma.
Yeah. That's just and that's the kind of trauma that does not heal well.
It will never heal, especially if you refuse to face it.
Especially if she refuses to tell the whole truth, which she never did to her therapist.
Or her sister.
Or her sister, yeah.
Or anybody.
She's kept that to herself. Anyway, so the entity now appears as Rose's mother, a very large, tall version of Rose's mother.
To give the impression that Rose is a child again.
Right.
That's the whole reason that elongated grotesque version of her
Right.
mother existed.
Right. It is revealed that Rose could have saved her mother, but chose not to. And that's heartbreaking, but also I can see why a child, or maybe not even a child, could walk away from something like that after what she had been through all those years.
The entity proceeds to attack Rose. She said the entity, as Rose's mother, grotesque, distorted version of her, says, "You can't escape me, I'm in your mind." To which she grabs this gas-powered lantern and says, "I know, you're in my mind." Smashes her in the head with it, causes a fire, and walks out into the night.
Yep.
Seemingly killing the, effectively seemingly killing the entity.
Yeah, so she thinks that she has killed it and burned the house down.
Yep.
She flees the house and returns to Joel's apartment, and Joel welcomes her in, but begins creepily smiling at Rose, who realizes that this is another hallucination.
I'll stay with you forever.
Rose runs out of Joel's apartment.
Yeah.
But as she crosses the threshold into what should be the hallway, she actually runs from the cabin into the woods outside the cabin.
Yeah, and realizes
where Joel is calling her name. And she freaks out
because
running back
Joel
inside.
is now here.
Because
he
he
was
tracked
not
her fucking
supposed to
phone!
be here. She wasn't supposed to have a witness. It was supposed to die with her.
Joel tracked her phone. She runs back into the cabin, locks the fucking cabin. But what does a police officer do?
Bust down the door.
Exactly.
Duh. Hello.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we? Rose, in her panic state, finds the entity, which now rips its face off, revealing a sort of humanoid monstrosity with just multiple sets of
lines and
teeth
lines and lines
malformed
of teeth
jaws
all over its body.
all nestled in this giant smile, really.
It's all over its body.
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
Which I think that somebody postulated the question to Parker Finn, writer-director of this, that are those smiles the entity's previous victims? And, like, maybe this entity is, like, a collector of souls, and it has to collect so many souls before it can... Whatever. And he's like, good question.
Let's
Very
expand
good
on
question.
that. That's a good question. Yes,
They also asked him, too, like, somebody in an interview at one point asked him, what happens if you have multiple people witness somebody?
I wondered that, too.
And he's like, that's a very good question.
Yeah. I have not seen Smile 2. Have you seen Smile 2
I have not.
yet? Okay,
I wanted to wait until we walked through this review before I watched it, because I didn't want Smile 2 to overlap with this and try and me get them confused.
Yeah,
you know?
because they are separate stories.
They
from what
are.
I understand.
They
but there
are.
is...
But if I watch two stories that are very similar back to back, I'm gonna blur them.
Yeah, I get that. So this monstrosity is there waiting for her inside the house.
Yeah. So the sight of this, all of this, unfolding before her, causes Rose to fall into a trance as the entity quite literally crawls itself in her fucking mouth. Which is apparently what was exactly happening to Laura when she was choking.
We just couldn't see it. She couldn't see it.
Rose couldn't see it.
We
couldn't see it because we hadn't been affected yet.
Right.
We as an audience following Rose through this journey have been affected.
Yeah.
So are we gonna die now?
I watched this movie. She's better at it than me. I got too many chins. So, Rose, I mean, at this point, she is in a trance, and now she is possessed.
Right. She's literally dumping kerosene or some flammable
kind of
liquid on her.
Yeah. Gasoline, kerosene, some kind of liquid. And she, gets that creepy old smile that spreads across her face.
Joel gets in,
breaks down that door, like Callie said, and sees that smiling Rose right as she sets herself on fire, passing the curse on to Joel.
And that effectively is where we end this film. We can tell you that Joel does survive 2-2.
Yep, he's
for
in
how
the second
long?
one.
For how
I don't
long
know.
we couldn't tell you.
Probably not very.
I wouldn't imagine it's very long
Nope.
because 2 revolves around Naomi Scott playing what is this tantamount to a Lady Gaga character.
Yeah.
And she's been affected by the curse.
Yeah.
That's
somehow
what we
it
know
gets
about
to
2.
her. That's about all I know, is that somehow it does get to her. What are your thoughts on this film?
This was a fucking cerebral film that I wish I would have watched sooner. I'm glad that we watched it when we did. Can't wait to watch 2.
Yeah. I watched this shortly after it came out and absolutely loved it. Watching it a second time a couple nights ago, absolutely loved it again. I think there was things that I didn't notice the first time watching that as I was watching the second time.
And it's supposed to be like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because I watched far too many documentaries, making ofs, shit like that, and I read IMDb trivia when I'm watching these films because
I like
that's
to read
what we
afterwards.
do. That's what we do. Okay, we break these down and give you nuggets of knowledge about all these individual
That's what
films.
we're trying to do. We're trying to tell you the things that you don't know
Exactly.
and wouldn't know without doing all the research that we're doing, so you don't have to do it.
Exactly. So, with that being said, I mean, it wasn't like I picked up on a lot more things that most people would overlook on their first watch.
And you
through
watched
of it.
the making of first.
I did
there's
because
that.
I like to know what I'm getting myself into before I sit down and watch something. I enjoy watching the making. I enjoy filmmaking as a whole.
Right.
You know, I enjoy the
I
process
enjoy watching
of
all
making
of that stuff afterwards. I don't like things being ruined for me.
I'm glad I watched it beforehand, so I was prepared for that fucking entity because they show it in detail in higher resolution light in the making of.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's practical, y'all.
It is very practical.
I mean,
not the reveal in which it comes into the frame in the film, but the entity itself is very much a practical effect.
What they did to these to make the forced perspective to make Sosie Bacon look so much smaller than the. I mean, like really, they did a lot of practical effects, and I appreciate that. You know, we always appreciate
exactly.
that. This is definitely a bloody machete up for me.
To the sky, too.
It is definitely like it is a study on how trauma can affect people in lots of different ways. And not just affect one person, but how that trauma can affect people down the line.
If you have ever watched Joaquin Phoenix's The Joker, right? That is literally a study of one man's descent into madness. This is very much in that vein of a woman's descent into craziness.
Yeah, definitely not madness, because it's not...
No, not madness, but
she's not crazy. She's not insane.
No.
What is happening to her...
But what is the definition of insanity?
Right.
People seeing things that nobody else can.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
That's insanity.
Yeah.
Actually, insanity is doing the same thing over and over
and expecting a different
But
result.
I mean, in the grand scheme of realities, when you're talking about insane people, they see things that nobody else can around them. That's what this is.
Yeah, this movie's really about mental illness more than anything.
Oh no, that's why I say it's very fucking cerebral.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a bloody machete up for me. I loved this movie. So good. So good.
We're gonna send this to Smile Town?
Back to Newark? Get out of here. Go back to New Jersey.
Go back to Jersey, you bum.
You bum. Anyways, I don't know what we're doing next. How about that?
We are revisiting another franchise.
Okay.
I told you, this is the year of sequels, y'all.
We are. We're doing
a
bunch of sequels. We're going to break them up with other things, too. So you're not watching nothing but sequels. But
next couple films that we're doing are continuation.
All right.
Sequels. That being said, you're not going to be able to watch this on my Vudu.
Oh.
It's one of 2 films.
2 films?
Yeah, there's 2 films that I don't have that we're doing the rest of this for like
that are just not on your Vudu because you can't put them on there?
I can't buy them.
Okay.
They're not available to buy. Thanks, MGM. Lick my plate, you dog dick!
That's okay, I got this one. Yeah. You can't watch it on my Vudu. Yeah, well, I think I've got like 3 copies of it. Might even have it on VHS.
I mean, you can watch it for free on Tubi.
Doobie. Yeah. Yes.
I wish we would have done this last year during Horror Fiesta when we gave away the Funko Pop signed by Bill Moseley. I really wish we would have.
I'm very excited.
I can tell. I think the entire audience and the entire world can tell how excited you are.
Okay,
this is one of her top 3, y'all.
Okay, like, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, is in my top 3. It's one of my top 3, but god dang, this might be 4. Might be number 4. Like, seriously, like, it's so funny! It's a complete, okay, it is a totally different movie than the original.
Every single sequel in this franchise is completely fucking different.
Yeah, especially of the first 4. The original 4 before they started doing remakes and stuff later. This one is bonkers, it's crazy, and we cannot wait for you to come back here next week and go over this fucking dog dick movie, okay? Music is my life, okay? So join us next week when we break down Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 with another gem from Tobe Hooper.
Right.
But until next time, make sure you slash that subscribe button.
Stab the like button.
And ring-a-ling the grave bell so you don't get buried alive and you keep up to date with all those silly shenanigans that we're doing over here on the tube of you.
The shenanigans will be had with
Always.
or without you, and we want you for our shenanigans.
Yes, we do.
Until then, y'all, we'll see you all
in the afterlife.